I did want to ask you, I was reading a quote, where words leave off, music begins. Yeah.
Hmm.
Why does it seem to you that dance, music, art strikes us in a different place than anything else? What is it about that? Even though you did mention, well, it's not coming from them, but what do you think it does something? It does move us, and there is no doubt about that for me,
Mm, mm.
right? And so my question to you is, from your point of view, what is that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because it is definitely that seemed to me to be a real mixed message that I was hearing in the principles being a musician, was like everything, music's neutral, the outside world is neutral, but there's this really deep connection, and as far as I can tell, it's in the same way that we have words and a kind of culture around our language that help us express something, and whatever that is that's being expressed is like um, we get a feel for the person in the same way you pick up on someone's vibe, from the words. And I don't mean that saying a swear word can make someone feel reliably the same way each time, but you pick up on the energy that they're coming from, because we instinctively know that we're one. And to me, it's the same with music, is that we instinctively pick up on the fact that there is life that's making sound, and there's kind of a language of the, it sounds a bit woo woo, but like the kind of like language of the soul, or kind of like a spiritual kind of language, that it kind of feels like that people get very romantic about. Like there's lots of these kind of quotes of like I don't know, music be the food of love and all that kind of thing, and it it just seems to me that music's non-verbal. You don't need to speak the same linguistic, verbal language. You don't. You can kind of, through music, you can pick up on the kind of gestures that were needed to make it as well. So if something's loud, then it requires a certain impetus, which is like a kind of echo of a certain kind of flow of energy. So there's a kind of physicality to it as well, but I just keep coming back to this connection with the aliveness that created that sound. We hear a sound, and we get a sense for the kind of energy that created it. That's what it seems like to me, is that the sound that we hear is like an echo from the creator. It's an echo, and we get a sense of what was upstream because of that. That's the only sense that I can kind of make of it. And I was just, what sprang to mind was this time when I was listening to, where was it? I went to see a ballet. I went to see the Nutcracker, and not a big ballet fan particularly, but I hadn't really done it before, and went and saw the Nutcracker, and then suddenly had this experience of realizing that Tchaikovsky, however many years ago, created this music, and the force, the energy that created that music, and he kind of caused it to be written down, or whatever. That's the same creative force that was in all the people who are listening, and it's the same creative force in the musicians who are playing. It's kind of like it's just it reminds us of the creativity in all of us. And I never had that experience. It felt really odd when I was listening to it, because it's like I feel connected to this dead guy. It's bizarre. I've never met him, and I thought it was like an old dead Russian composer on a pedestal, but but I felt very, very intensely connected to him, and it was bizarre, but it kind of made sense, because it's like, well, it's the same energy that makes me go, oh, you know, I quite like to play like that, or I fancy dancing, you know, or I fancy creating a bit of art. We just sense that we're one. We know that we're one, and it's another way, without words, without traditions, you know, linguistic traditions, I think, of being reminded of it. It's already there. I think that's the thing, because it's true. It's just, music can remind us in a way that maybe language can't. Rambled a bit, but I don't know if you followed what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's brilliant. You know, you know what came to me while you're talking, Nick, is the first thing a newborn, a baby in the belly of their mother hears is ba-boom, ba-boom, blood, all this stuff happening, breathing. It's a beat. They listen. As soon as consciousness at some point arises in a child, I know this firsthand, because a couple years ago we had to do we got to hear my child in my wife's belly, and there was music in there. Literally, they wake up to an encapsulated body full of sounds. So I think it's ingrained in us. And there was no words there. It's not, mommy didn't say you're going to be okay. The only thing they started off with is a beating heart that has a rhythmic beat to it, and it's so calming, and so lets the child know that they're okay and they're alive, and they're now part of the beat of humanity, in a sense. And I think you know, piggybacking off of what you said, it literally reminds us of who we are, because that's where we started. We started with a beat. We started from that sound of life, you know? So.
It seems to be, you know, like saying, like meditation or prayer, or, you know, you could say music, or a hug, or whatever. I think it's all pointing in the same direction. It's just, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's a really cool, it's a cool topic, actually. It's one that keeps coming back to me, like thinking, well, is there more to it? But